If you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions for things you'd like us to speak about, all you have to do is put them in the comments below. If you'd like to be an advertiser, get in touch with us at thebarryfostershow@gmail.com, and we'll get you a rate card. Okay, you can be one of the. We're only going to have 4 advertisers per show, so if you want to get on, that'll be an easy way to do it. In the studios with me today, the beautiful and lovely Sandra Foster. Say hello.
Hello.
There we go. We do a lot of Florida fun travel, and we had kind of a bittersweet Florida fun travel here earlier this week when Sandra and I went to Arcadia, Florida. But we went because our little kitten, Callie, needed to be spayed. And so we went to the mobile veterinary clinic, which is set up down there. This is the Southwest Florida Spay and Neuter Services. We met the lovely Brittany, and we got it because it was a little, how do we say it, a little less expensive than it is here.
Well, we're getting her ready for adoption, and even though we love the veterinarians in Highlands County, it's quite expensive if you're doing rescue, more than we could really afford.
Well, I've heard a number. One of our dear friends, Pat, who does the adoptions for Heartland Cat Rescue, said that some people are paying as much as $650 to have their kittens, which for us to drive to Arcadia buys a lot of gasoline.
Well, the $650 will usually include their vaccinations and chipping.
Oh, okay.
But we also wanted to make sure that we were going to a place that was reliable and a good. Because sometimes, and it can happen that, especially the little girls, that's major surgery, and some of them don't survive.
And so we bottled up early in the morning, put her in a little cage. She got the trip of her life. I think this is the furthest away she's ever been from home, and it took us a little while to find the place. We use the Waze system, and sometimes it takes us a little out of our ways to go there, but we finally looped around and got there, and she was the first one in, and they seemed like a real good crew over there.
Because it's a mobile unit, they were parked in a park there in Arcadia, and it was a really nice setup. They rolled right in, and within minutes they were accepting the patients, and that was really neat.
Well, it's the Peace River, the Southwest Florida Spay and Neuter Services that came up from Port Charlotte. They're in real life, they're located at Tamiami Trail, but they had a giant camper that had a kind of wrap on it, and they do dogs and cats. We were there, and we had, like I say, she's a sweet little calico kitten. She was first in. They were wonderful folks, and we'll tell you about picking her up a little bit later, but she was first in and first out as well. So we dropped her off. Was it 8:30 or 8:40?
No, more like 8:45.
8:45 in the morning. We dropped her off, and then we had like roughly 5 hours to kill. So we went into, first thing we did is went into the antique area, which is Oak Street, I think, in downtown Arcadia. And since the last time we were there, it really looked like they were struggling, kind of.
Well, they were doing a lot of refurbishing of some of the buildings, and they had some closures along the street. Mm-hmm. But they have a lot of antique and thrift store type things,
curio shops,
and some restaurants.
Yeah, one of the sad things that when we got there, they have a grand opera house, and it was instead of the downtown antique and curio shop, they had a vape shop in the bottom, and it looked like the top was closed because there had been a place called the Bazaar Bazaar, and it's been several years since we went down and enjoyed the Bazaar Bazaar. But Sandra found a beautiful pocketbook down there, and it was like out of the 40s or 50s, but it still had the tags and all the promotional stuff inside the purse when you got it.
And it looked brand new.
Yes, she said she liked it. So what could I do but buy it? I had to buy it. But they had really it was more of a retro shop. I mean, it wasn't all antiques. They had record players, and they had things from the 70s and 80s. It was. Are they too loud? Okay, how's that? Is that better? Okay. But the new setup that I have only has one volume for headsets, and mine are generally not loud enough, and my guests are always too loud. So, but anyway, there was no longer there, and on the old Florida Fun Travel, I did a story about the Bizarre Bazaar. They had a mannequin falling through the roof. They had
it was
a
a
bunch of
bizarre
different
place.
things. Yes, it was. So it was a very interesting thing. So, but they had some very, very old antiques. One of the places we went by had an old airplane propeller. One of the sad things we saw was they had a place that specialized in china and glass, but they had everything marked down to 50%, and they were going out of business because someone had written on the front window that the lady had run it from 1936 to 2025. She was, I guess, born in 1936. Anyway, she'd passed away, and there was no one to continue to run the store.
They were closed, so we couldn't go in and see any of the things there. But it is sad to see some of these closed because you wonder what could come into that spot and fill it.
Well, Arcadia used to be a really a kind of a hotbed for antique shops. I mean, I've heard it said if you have 3 of anything, you have a collection. So they had a bunch of antique shops, and more moved in. There was a couple of nice little coffee shops / restaurants there, but it looked like there were more. There was probably 3 vape shops there, and it looked like that they were. It's kind of struggling, and that's sad. Although on the one side of Oak Street, they had a bunch of scaffolding set up, like they were fixing at least one of the buildings there.
Well, they also had a little salon type spot that was maybe a dress shop and a ladies type spot, spa where you could go in and be pampered for the day.
Yeah, we went into this one little spot, and I can't remember the name of it. You might remember, but it was a girl's shop. It was oh geez, I can't remember the girl's name. Anyway, it was I walked in there, and there was nothing for boys.
Well, it was a vibes. It was kind of a
the
throwback.
good vibe shop.
It
yeah.
was a throwback kind of to some of the hippie type things, and they had a display in the back where they had free condoms, and they had sort of
oh really?
A place beauty type products, and there were clothing, a lot of clothing for women.
I went and looked around a little bit in there, and I said, I don't see anything that has boy written on it. So I went down the street a little bit, and there was a there was a vape shop. There was a place that did nails and eyebrows and things like that. And as we walked the other way, there was a little ice cream shop, but it was a little early in the morning, I guess, for ice cream. The ice cream shop hadn't opened up yet. And we walked to the end, kind of the end of Oak Street, and walked back. And really, a lot of the places, it was a Thursday morning. So there were some places that just weren't open on Thursday morning.
And there was another shop there kind of at the end of that one street that was being refurbished inside and out. And they had,
oh, yeah, right.
They had paintings on the window where you could stand and have your picture made and to look like you had wings and a halo.
I asked my wife, I said, hey, would you like a picture of yourself with wings? And she demurred. She didn't want that.
Well, so. I wasn't hardly tall enough for the halo to fit, so I thought better of it.
I needed bigger wings. But at any rate, so we walked there and did that. So one of the places that we always go when we go to Arcadia And sometimes we're on our way to places like Fort Myers Beach or Punta Gorda, someplace like that. We stop in at Martin's Country Market, which is people call it Amish. Really, it's Mennonite. It's Reformed Mennonite, which I don't know what the difference is. They all look like Amish to me, but it's really a wonderful place with all kinds of sweet treats on the inside. I usually gain 4 or 5 pounds just being in there, but they had they've changed the layout a little bit. They had 2 racks of homemade bread. They had some homemade sourdough bread that would just look like it was out of sight.
They have a little area that you can actually see them in there working, and where they're making the dough and making the rolls, and they have wonderful yeast rolls, sweet rolls that when we're going to Fort Myers, a lot of times we would stop on our way and pick up sweet rolls for breakfast.
Well, when you go in, when you first, there's a little outdoor area where you can sit and eat if you'd like to sit out and eat. But when you first go in, there's a kind of an island with, as you say, sweet treats. There's breakfast rolls. There's breakfast breads in there. There's
Cakes and cookies.
Kind of a trail mix. They have one side that is nothing but a cooler full of different kinds of drinks. They have Joe's sodas in glass bottles, and they had some sparkling apple cider, which I almost bought, but I didn't buy.
And they have different teas.
Right.
And as you come in, the cash register is on either side of the door as you enter. And they almost always have a tray of samples of their cakes and goodies, and it's a place to avoid.
I've got, well, I got a little bit in the cooler tray. They also have some dips, and there's like a cheese dip. And when you get to the end of the little area there, they have some pretzels and some dip. You can try that, and then they have a deli counter. Like if you go into Publix, you'll see it in the back there. You'll see the different kinds of meats and cheeses they have in the cooler back there. And then as you come around, that's where you can order your sandwich. And you have to kind of fill out a little card that tells what kind of sandwich you want, what you want on it. You give it to the girl, they fill it out, and then you can either go outside, or they have a little indoor area in the back as well, which is, I don't know, has maybe 6 or 8 seats back there. It's but as you say, you can sit there and you can watch the gals kneading the dough and making the stuff and getting ready. But there's also kind of a little, kind of a supermart area, I guess you call it, with pastas and flours and
sauces and jellies and
pancake mix. They had some sweet potato pancake mix I had my eye on, but we didn't get any of that. I know you were looking for. They didn't have any grits. You were looking for.
They
grits.
had polenta, which is their grits, but they were just gluten free. They didn't have any of the organic ones like we usually. They do have things from Bob's Red Mill, which I purchased a lot of organic things from them, but they didn't have any of the organics.
Well, they have a rack with honey on it, and they have some racks that have different jams and jellies and that kind of thing,
and barbecue sauces and different salad dressings that they.
And we got a little something for our friend John Larson, who loves that kind of stuff. So we got him a little present as well. And they've got a new logo. Used to it said Martin's Country Market on it, and a little black and white sticker. Now they've just got a black and white M. Somebody has come in and rebranded them with this big M on it. I didn't tell the little gal, but I like the old style better. You know, they kind of have an old country market feel to them. And there is, by the way, inside Martin's, if you like real ice cream, not soft serve, or as my father used to call it, custard, they have a little ice cream stand. There was nobody manning. If we'd have wanted some ice cream, somebody would have gotten it for it if we wanted some.
Normally, a lot of times when we're there, of course, we're there later in the day, most of the time when we stop. But they have young kids that help out there. Mm-hmm. And I know that one of the times when John Larson had ice cream, a very young kid had dipped it for him and then wanted a report on how good it was.
He came back, and they are, they're very good, because you feel a bit overserved, because the young man came back and said, "Well, how's your ice cream sundae, sir?" And John says, "This is the best ice cream sundae I've had in my whole life." And the kid was beaming. But it's good, because they teach him the work ethic.
Well, service is a big part of what they do there. And we went one time when they were having an open house type thing.
They had some big anniversary going on.
And they had two little girls that were there that couldn't have been more than 7 that were set up there with some samples they were passing out.
And I'll never forget, because while they were there, someone dropped something, and there was a big crash, and they all hovered around, and the kids helped clean it up.
They got the broom and got the dustpan and started sweeping it up.
So it was a great thing to watch. If you want to find it, we come in on Highway 17, coming out of Zolfo Springs, and you make a left on, I think it's DeSoto Street. Anyway, it's Highway 70 East.
And Waze can find it if you just put in Martin's
Country Market. And so, and usually we eat there. But I have been, last 3 times I've gone to Arcadia. I've really seen this place called the Yellow Deli. And I've heard so many good things about it. And I said, we're going to take a new experience, and we're going to go find the Yellow Deli, which is, once we had left the downtown area on Oak Street, gone out on Highway 70 East to Martin's, and it took us back the other way, right back into, I guess, what you'd arguably call the downtown area, or the historic area of Arcadia. And it was on North Oak, 22 North Oak Street, if my memory serves. And we found the Yellow Deli, and it was a real find.
The building is very attractive and very yellow, and the outside of it is inviting. Mm-hmm. And then when you walk in, they have a very rustic look, and booths that are very attractive and very organized and neat, but have that rough wood look to them.
Well, when you first walk in the Yellow Deli, like Martin's, you're greeted with a little kind of a concession area, and there are homemade teas. They have lemongrass there. They have essential oils set up there. They have some handcrafted soaps and things such as that. We came in, and there was a gal, and says, "How many?" We said 2, and we wanted to sit at this one booth, and they said, "Well, could you sit back at this booth in the back?" And it turned out to be actually a better booth. We had a breathtaking view of the Arcadia post office, and we sat there. But it was the tables. It looks like they are new, but made out of old wood. And the table we were at was it almost looked like a large section of a tree that had been polished,
stained and shellacked, and very smooth and very, as you say, they've got a new look, even though it looks like they are maybe like huge sections out of a tree trunk.
And when we first came there, they said, "Have you ever been to a Yellow Deli before?" And when they said that, I thought to myself, that sounds like there may be more than one Yellow Deli. And we said, "No, this is the first Yellow Deli that we'd ever been to." And she said, "Well, here, let me tell you the story." And she told us about how the crew all lived together in a commune type of an arrangement, and really it was kind of an interesting story about how they were set up.
Yes, it was very interesting, and I asked her if they had paperwork, if they were a religious group, and she said, "Well, not really. We're family," and that on Vine Street in Chattanooga, Tennessee, in 1974, they started this, and they took the scripture out of Acts, where they all had everything in common, and they put all of their funds together and none of them were rich and none of them were poor. They all met whatever needs they had. And they took that scripture, and they're very Bible oriented, Old and New Testament. And they're very, every morning, according to their paperwork and what we had learned from them, they have prayer time and worship time together every morning and every evening. And they live in this really large house, and there's a picture of it on their literature that's down at the end of the street that they're in here in Arcadia. But they started from this one place in Chattanooga, and now they're all over the world, in fact, and in many places in the United States.
Well, the two places in Florida that I know are, one is in Arcadia and one's in Pine Island. Now, Sandra and I many years ago went to Matlacha, which is on Pine Island, and there's a place at the very end of the island called Boquila, and we'd gone into a little kind of an ice cream shop there and had some ice cream, and we kind of traveled all over the island. So it was interesting that they were there, but they're in Spain. I know that they're in Kyoto, Japan,
And in England.
and in England, but there's the two locations in Florida, which are kind of interesting. She told us this story, and then we had a chance to look through their menu, and it was interesting because they had hot sandwiches where you could either order one of the five off the menu, or you can create your own sandwich with your own choices of meat and cheese and bread and that kind of things. They have a whole section of different sides, everything from avocado or sauerkraut or jalapenos or Greek onions that you can put on your sandwich. But they price it depending on how much meat or cheese that you use. And the meats include like roast beef or corned beef or turkey or buffalo chicken. They have a veggie burger there. They have Swiss cheese, cheddar cheese, provolone, hot pepper jack. I ordered I said, which sandwich are you famous for? She says, kind of all of them. She says, a lot of people like the deli rose. Some people like the turkey pesto. Some people like the country ranch. The Northerners apparently like the Reuben. And so after looking, I ordered the deli rose, which is roast beef, corned beef, pepper jack, provolone cheese, onions, tomato, butter, mustard, and their own spicy red sauce on an onion roll. And I don't do spicy very well anymore, so I said, look, can I get this with the spicy red sauce on the side, which they were very happy to do. I tried a little bit of it. When you first taste it, it just kind of tastes like a little kind of like a flavorful ketchup. But the heat comes at the end. The heat comes at the end, and you kind of like that, didn't you?
It wasn't bad.
And now you got the
Vegetarian.
You got the veggie burger.
But I really had not looked at the menu that closely because I was too busy talking to the lady. I found the place just fascinating.
Oh yeah.
And she brought us some of the literature to the table, and so I was kind of distracted with that. But it was very good. I just am not fond of vegetable burgers as such, the patty. I prefer just the bun and vegetables. And there were quite a lot of vegetables and sprouts.
Yeah, there wasn't. This wasn't
this.
like a veggie burger, like the
There
Boca
was
burgers.
a patty.
Oh, was there?
But I tasted it, and it was nice. It had, I think, mostly a lot of mushrooms in it, but it did have sprouts and lettuce and tomato and a lot of other things there. So
onions, lettuce, tomatoes, avocado,
yes.
sprouts, vegan spread, mustard on a heritage roll, and it had a little asterisk that says, "Caution, contains nuts." So I guess some people have
That was in the patty.
They have a nut allergy, and they're worried about that. But if you don't want a burger, don't worry. They have garden salads. They have a fruit and nut salad. They have a chef salad. You can get a fruit plate if you want to. But also, every day they have a homemade soup and a chili. And when we were there, it was the butternut squash soup, and they put almonds in it on the top. That was kind of interesting, I thought.
Well, that was really neat. I warned you right away that I was going to be an expensive date today because
You're worth it, baby.
when I looked at the menu, there were too many things I wanted. And since we don't get to Arcadia very often, I wanted to try their soup, and I wanted to try one of their sandwiches because it was on their homemade bread. And I also wanted their one of their teas. They had quite a lot of ice and hot teas.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is that they had artesian sourdough bread, which was really it was almost like a dessert bread. I never have had sourdough bread like that.
Well, the soup came out first, and it was really, really good. We shared the soup. They gave us 2 spoons, and so why not share
She was so sweet. They were such a nice gal.
But and the bread was plenty enough for us to share.
And they serve breakfast all day. They have deli waffles. They have granola. They have cinnamon rolls. They have a muffin of the day. I guess you got to ask her what that is. Yogurt parfait. They have breakfast sandwiches. They have a spinwich, which is eggs, spinach, cheddar, parmesan, and pepper jack cheese. Also onions, red peppers, butter, and their own spicy sauce, which we've told you about. But this is the kind of place where you want to go back and try something new. I'd like to go back and try their Reuben and try their other sandwiches that they have.
Well, you could go there for weeks and have something different every time, and it was amazing. And also they have a kiddie little menu corner there. And she said, and you can have anything off the child's menu that you want.
And the adults could order off the child's menu. And I asked her, and she assured me that if you're a child, you can order off the adults menu as well. The thing you have to remember is they are not open Saturday. Our friends Jim and Faith, we were talking about that, and she sighed with these slumped shoulders and said, yes, we went Saturday and they weren't open. It reminded me very much of Bob's Train in Sarasota, where we go to we just did one about the farmer's market. We love to go to Bob's Train, but he also is closed on Saturdays.
Yes, Saturdays.
Yeah, he's closed on Saturdays, and so we couldn't go there. So this was...
But the reason they are closed on Saturdays is because, like I said, they are very scriptural, and they see that the Lord did all of his work, and then he rested on Saturday, the Sabbath. And so they take their Sabbath on Saturday, and they work every other day. They're very, very work-oriented, and everybody pitches in and does their jobs. They get up in the morning, they have their devotion and their worship time, and then they all go to work somewhere. Even the kids that are homeschooled, they pitch in, and they do have some of these communes that are farm. They have some of them that are, a lot of them are associated with restaurants like this, but they had some that were different things. They even had some that were making musical instruments.
Yes, I saw that.
Amazing. Of course, being a librarian, I love to read, and so I was very distracted by looking at the literature they had there, which was free, and they encourage you to. But the best treat, even though the meal was really great, was a gentleman named John came over to our table, and he had heard us talking, and he
asked if we were historians. He says, national, international. I said, around here. I said, he started laughing. I said, we travel Florida, and we like to know what's going on in Florida. And we had the entire meal really was spent speaking with him. He'd spent some time in Europe. When we were in there, these guys came in, and he spoke to them in French. And the guy says, oh, they're from Paris. I said, really? I said, I didn't know if they were French or French-Canadian. And he kind of smiled, But he spoke to them in fluent French. And we talked about the collapse of society. And he talked about the black community, and we talked about the other communities in general, And it it was a fascinating discussion about. He was 3 years older than me. Okay, and he asked me how old I was, and so we talked about what we had learned in high school, as opposed to what the kids learn now in school, and they're very much for homeschooling.
Well, he was very in tune with things that our Tea Party members would be in tune to, about how things have changed from the time we were in school to where now. And even maybe when you think back, even then, public schools have always been a place where the government used to indoctrinate students in what they wanted. I know that when AIDS was a big thing, and I was teaching in Crossville, Tennessee, at the high school, one of the things they were asking different teachers to teach in their classes was how to use a condom. So, and the public school system has always used it as a way of passing on information they wanted students to have.
We talked about the breakdown of the family and all kinds of things. I did ask him, he was on social media, and he looked at me and goes, no. That we came later to find out they don't even watch TV. I mean, they have no mass medias.
Well, one of the things that, it's just a great place. It reminded me, I told Barry, of their philosophy is to serve excellent food and to invite people in. They feel like that the best way to influence is to just share your ideas and talk to people and find out what they think, and then for them to share what they think. And we were really, we got in there a little bit early for lunch, but before we left, the place was full of people. And the food is really great, and that's it. Serve great food, and then while the people are there, if they're open, if they want, then they talk to them.
And it's not overpriced. And one thing I have to tell you, and anyone who listens to this program on a regular basis will know, that my wife might be a little bit of a teaholic, okay? She likes tea a lot, and she ended up in exactly the right place because you had your, they have some soft drinks, like they have root beer. I know you like that sometimes. They have smoothies and juices, but I think didn't you get the mango mate? Isn't that what the tea you got? Or did you get the ice cream mate tea?
No, it was just the...
Because they have lemon lime mate, they have hibiscus deli, they have
it was not a flavored mate.
They have a green mate, sweet and unsweet, iced chai. So they have a lot of different kinds of teas, and they even have, if you like kombucha. Kombucha is a kind of a fermented drink, but you got the green tea, and apparently you liked it pretty well because you bought a sack of it before we left.
Well. The two things she said that they don't make, that this group of family doesn't make, is the chips, which are organic and not fried in all of the oils that are not good for you, and root beer. Everything else is made by the family somewhere.
I was stunned that they did not make their own chips. But she said they don't fry anything. And I told them about here in Highlands County, there's one guy that owns 3 different restaurants, and they all have homemade chips. And we agonize over which one is the best. But and we talk about having other things. We did not have room for dessert. But I was looking I was gaining weight just looking at the dessert menu. But they have cream cheese pie. They have sweet potato pound cake. They have banana bread. They have a bunch of that kind of stuff. And if you want to take some home, they have a little cooler there as you walk right beside the cash register, which has pies and cakes in their dessert treats. If you want to take some of that home, and they had the oatmeal raisin cookies. They had peanut butter cookies. They had.
They were large.
Oh, they were way big, and
they also had the muffin of the day.
And the muffin of the day, yeah. So So you have a chance to take some of that home if you want. And they were very kind because you didn't even have to ask. They made you a to-go cup with your tea in it, and you could pour your tea with your ice into this cup, and it lasted all the way home.
Well, it's a place that I wish we had an excuse to go to Arcadia again soon.
We do to go to this place again, but it's nice because we go to Martin's and we can kind of stock up on some of that Reformed Mennonite / Amish stuff, and then kind of take a look at the. We don't do a lot of antiques. Usually, the antiques that we get are stuff that we're going to use. Like my wife really likes these glass Pyrex coffee pots, and unfortunately, the innards are mostly aluminum. We're looking for one that has a glass. I guess they call it the basket and the percolator operation. But we don't get it because we're collecting. We get them to use it. Because the old stuff is made to be fixed and it's made to use.
Well, I made the mistake. The first one that we got, and the main reason I do is because I'm somewhat nutty and I don't want to use the aluminum.
No
and
aluminum.
Most of the antique cornware pots like that or glass pots like that, the brew basket had aluminum on the bottom and on the top where it had the little holes for the water and the coffee to drain back down into the pot as you perked. But the first one that I had got left on by accident, and it was just red hot. And I made the mistake of taking it off the eye instead of just turning it down, because glass shatters as it cools.
And it did.
And if you don't let it just cool slowly. So I broke that first one. But since then, I have learned not to do that. But I do love that little pot because you can heat water for coffee and for tea and do it in a drip method that doesn't use the aluminum.
But I will tell you that if you're going for a little sightseeing tour, you can go down Oak Street, look at all the antique shops and things like that. We can recommend both. Excuse me here. We can recommend both Martin's Country Market to go there and pick up some goods to bring home. Or if you'd like to have a sandwich, they make great sandwiches there. I mean, don't get me wrong.
And they press them.
And they press them, and it's a
if you want it.
It's a wonderful place to go and enjoy a little something to eat. Also, we can recommend the Yellow Deli, which is and I think next time we go, we're going to go at a time when they on several occasions offered to have us come by and visit them, and I'm going to find if they're going to have some kind of event where they're going to have singing with their homemade musical instruments and such.
I don't know. They might allow you to come and they invite you to come visit their home. And it seems that the only time they might be there is during the morning worship and the evening worship. We could check that out. But yes, I do want to go back. But there is also, of course, that's where the cat vet set up, or the mobile vet unit set up, was in a park. And it was a pretty nice little park. They had those little burn...
Oh, those burn areas? Yeah, the little burn barrels.
Well, they were little metal rings that you could have a fire. But it looked like a nice place. If you have a camper, you could go down overnight and stay. And
it's called Peace River Park. That was on Highway 70. It was on Highway 70 East. And what you did was, it is just east of where we generally make the turn to go down to Fort Myers. You take the ways will take you out there, and there's a gas station. When we were there had been some kind of traffic accident, and so it was crawling with police and fire and ambulances. And it was a challenge to get through that intersection. But it's just beyond that. It's called Peace River Park, and my favorite was they had different names for there were streets, and the one street was called Divorce Court, which I thought had a lot of humor to it.
which is sort of where the vet mobile unit had set up.
Soleil Circle and Divorce Court is where they were set up.
But the mobile vet is a wonderful thing. They tell you to pick your cat up by 2:30, and so we went back early because we've always wanted to be kind of first in line. We were first to drop off, and we ended up being the first to pick it up.
I went over to take some pictures, and the guy went up and knocked on the door, and the lovely Brittany came out, and she looked at me. She says, "Are you picking up?" And Sandra can move fast when she wants to, and all of a sudden she was right there and said, "Yes." And so we picked up Kellyanne, and she slept most of the way home. I said, if they did that to me, I'd probably sleep most of the way home too. But we can't say enough nice things about the Southwest Florida Spay and Neuter Service, who have their big van.
Well, she was really good actually all the way down there. When she first got we decided to carry her in a cage and then put her in the carrier after we got to the vet. And she was a little unhappy the first few minutes, but then she settled right down. And because she was in the cage, she could see what was going on outside the windows. And so she was quiet, which was really surprising because she had not been in the car that much before. And of course, remembering the trip when our son Tim moved from Clarksville, Tennessee to Boca Raton, and we had hours, and their cat was in the car with
our daughter and granddaughter.
And yes, Angela and Clementine. And she cried all the way from Tennessee
till she got there, and then she thought, "Well, it's not so bad." So, but I'll tell you, from where we are, and probably where you're listening, if you're in Highlands County, it's less than an hour down there.
It's about 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah,
if the traffic is good.
Yeah, we take 64 across from Avon Park down to 17 south to Highway 70. Now, some people may take 66 across from Sebring. Some people may take 70 down there from Lake Placid down there at the Bears Den. But it's a nice little trip. It's an easy trip, and you can spend some time down there and enjoy yourself and have a little something to eat, do a little sightseeing, and maybe pick up some bargains while you're there.
And I want to go again soon.
Yeah, we're gonna go back, and we're gonna have to stop by at the Yellow Deli again and do some more investigating. Okay, so we can recommend Arcadia. Even if you don't have a kitten, it's going to be spayed or neutered. Okay, you've been listening to the Barry Foster Show, coming to you from the Ridge Floor Studios in the City of Charm, beautiful downtown Avon Park. As always, any kind of subject you want us to broach, people you'd like to interview, just put it in the comments below. If you'd like to send us an email, it's thebarryfostershow@gmail.com. And we'll be doing some more traveling, and we'll be telling you about those as well. As we continue to look for truth, justice, and the American way, this is Barry Foster, and we'll see you next time.